everybody, to Awaken the Best You with Misty Springer. Hi, Misty.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm the co-host, Anna Levin, and today we're talking about something that approaching the holidays is super, super cool, which is emotional eating. What best topic to actually, before we actually step into the food frenzy,
Exactly. Yeah.
at least to go into it more consciously. So I love this topic. I actually have my own experiences with emotional eating, so I cannot wait to go into what it is, why we do it, and most importantly, what are some of the tools that we can use so that we can be more in charge of our eating as opposed to have an emotional eating.
Absolutely. And I have to say that, this is near and dear to my heart. I don't think there is a woman out there, at least I haven't met very many, that this is not a very relevant and very personal topic. And it's something that we don't talk a whole lot about.
It's shameful, right?
It is. Yeah. We joke about it. We joke a lot about it. There's a lot of conversations that I've had with my girlfriends sitting around eating lunch together where we'll joke about, oh, I'm, feeling really awful today. Better go home and eat some chocolate or
yes.
But but I think that we do that because it is a shameful topic. And we don't feel really good about ourselves when we're emotionally eating. And so to joke about it kind of diffuses the shame that we feel. But I know for me, it was a very shameful topic for a long time. And so that's why I'm excited to kind of dive in deeper.
Yeah. And let's, what comes to mind, the first thing that I would like to explore with you is, why is it that we do it? I mean, what are some of the physiological, because there is a physiological component to emotional eating. It's not like we are, oh yes, I want to, overeat, get bigger. And then many people don't say that. We usually do it because we want to ground ourselves, or we want to fill in an emptiness, or we're feeling nervous or sad or whatever it is. So what are some of the more physical aspects of what, why we do that?
Yeah, I love this question, Anna, because I think as women, oftentimes when we start to go down that rabbit hole of emotional eating, we feel like it's us. Like, where is my willpower? Why do I not have any control over this? I know for me, for so many years, I was an emotional binge eater, to the point where I was like stealing my roommate's food in college. And I just had put so many rules and restrictions around food that when I finally did give myself a little bit of leeway to eat sugar, it was like, oh my gosh, I have to have it and I have to have more of it. And there was absolutely no control, like no control whatsoever. And that was really frustrating for me. And it felt really shameful because it felt like, I am an intelligent, capable woman. Why is it that this piece of brownie over here has more control over me than I have over myself? This makes no sense.
Exactly. I can relate. I can so relate. Yeah.
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And so I love the question that you ask about the physiology of it, because when we ask that question, it allows us to step away from making us the problem and realize that we really can't fight against physiology. And one way that I like to take a look at this is, think about when you hold your breath. You hold your breath for a really, really, really long time, and you can have all the willpower in the world. You can say, I am going to hold my breath for 7 to 10 minutes. That's my goal. I'm going to do it. And you're going to have all this willpower, and you're going to think, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my plan ready. I'm going to get everything all ready to go so I can hold my breath for 10 minutes. And then you go into it, and you by a minute, you're just dying. And what happens? You start to gulp in air because you can't fight against your physiology. And so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the emotional reasons that we eat that create a physiological response in our body. And we're looking at the actual physiology of our body and why it is that we emotionally eat, and then how we can control that. So question, why do we emotionally eat? It's because our body has been designed to feel better. That's what our body is designed to do. It's designed to make us feel our best and to find homeostasis. And so sometimes when we are feeling frustrated, or we're feeling left out, we're feeling disappointed, we fill that hole with food. And we do that because in the past, when we've done that, when we felt bad or sad or mad, we've eaten a piece of chocolate and our body feels better. It releases endorphins. Our body feels better. And so our body says, oh, you're feeling sad. Let's go get some chocolate, because that works. And then what happens is we start to feel shame about that. Right. And guess what? Our body's like, oh, she feels sad again. We better get some more chocolate. You know, so we perpetuate this cycle of emotional eating.
And there's no winning, right? Because it's like a,
it's that downward spiral. So understanding that is really, really helpful.
Yes. And would you say then, because we're talking about specifically emotional eating, so we're trying to deal with our emotions with food. So would you say that then it's our own inability or underdeveloped ability to stay with, you know, emotions that are a little bit more challenging? Because of course, when we're happy, that's not a problem. But if we're sad or anxious or nervous, or we feel, like you said, you know, rejected, all those negative emotions, we don't want to feel them. So then we literally fill them up physically with food. Then we feel bad about ourselves. So the question then becomes like, how do we actually approach our so-called negative emotions in a healthy manner, so that we can actually break that cycle of unhealthy eating?
Yeah. And I do want to speak to something that you said, you know, sometimes we're happy and so that's fine. But oftentimes what I find is sometimes we associate food with happy too. And it's become so much a part of our culture that emotional eating is not just about the negative emotions. It can be about excitement and celebration. And that's where it gets really confusing, because we're thinking, wait a minute, I told myself I would never eat sugar again. And yet here my 10-year-old wants to make cookies with me, and this is a bonding moment.
Yes. And you're not going to have a cookie?
And like, he's like, here, have a cookie, Mom. I want you to have a cookie. And you're like, no, because I said I would never eat sugar again. You know, that sets up a conflict. We can't live in both. So that's a topic for another day, but there is a way that you can create an experience around food that is very intentional, but allows for the happy and the sad in your eating. And you're just, it's all about being intentional. It's about eating from our thinking brain rather than from compulsion, which feels like, let me shove it in as fast as I can. I'm not even tasting it.
Yes.
So your question, you might have to reiterate the question because I can't remember it now.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what do we do when we, you know, one thing is to identify those emotions. So that's great. But my question has been, and I'm in my 40s and I still have some of these issues with food that I really want in this decade of my life. I really want to tackle, because I want to develop more of a healthy relationship with food and not have so many, because I can relate to you, and so many of us women have those very strict rules, and I'm not going to have chips ever again. But then, you know, once in a while you're in a Mexican restaurant for your girlfriend's birthday. And anyway, so things like that happen. So I'm trying to find a more balanced way to life, a more loving and, you know, harmonious way of living. So I think what I would love for you to teach us is, you know, how do we do in that moment when we feel like, oh, I need ice cream because I'm not feeling, what happens in that moment, and what can we do to pause and do something different? Because it's very real, the urge to eat something and to kill what we're feeling is very real, whether it's, like you said, good or bad, happy or sad.
Yeah, it is very real. And it's a very real experience in our body. And I think that that's where it gets really confusing, because you think, I have to have this ice cream now. Like, chocolate now. And we think that it's all about the craving, when in reality, it is the thought that is creating the craving. And it's when we start to get into that feeling of, so you mentioned like the feelings of insecurity or doubt or sadness. Those are really big emotions. And when we experience big emotions, we want to run away. We don't like that feeling. It's painful. And
Yes.
so one of the best ways we know how to run away from those feelings is to distract ourselves with food. It's by far, hands down, the fastest, easiest way to distract ourselves from the emotions we don't want to feel. Yeah. And so of course we're going to go to that. Of course we're going to move into that, because that's what we've patterned, that's what we've conditioned ourselves to do. And we get into this habit loop where it's just like driving a car. You know, when you first started driving a car, you're really conscious of what you were doing, like 10 and 2, and turn on the turn signal. And you were very, very specific about the actions that you took to drive a car. It took a lot of mental bandwidth. Mm-hmm. Well, now we're doing way too many things while we're driving. You know, we can think about 10 other things, because that part of our brain, that habit of driving the car, has now been put back into our storage centers that just goes on autopilot.
Right.
And that's exactly what is happening when you are emotionally eating, or when I'm emotionally eating, or when any of us are emotionally eating. We are going into autopilot. Our brain is trying to conserve energy. It's saying, oh, negative emotion. She wants to distract from that. Let's go eat, because that's going to be a really great way to distract and make her feel better for a moment. And right. Then the shame sets in.
And that's so important too, because, you know, either the shame or, you know, physically overeating is not a pleasant feeling, mm-hmm. at least mm-hmm. for myself. So yeah, no, I mean, it's just fascinating. So how do we go from compulsion to intentional?
Yeah, beautiful question. And that is what I teach. That right there is the process that I teach, going from compulsion to intention. Because in compulsion feels yucky. It feels like I'm out of control. It feels like I'm not keeping the promises that I made to myself.
Like I'm not loving myself.
Like I'm not loving myself. Exactly. Compulsion just feels like, at the end of compulsion hangover, I'm totally ashamed of myself and feeling guilty. Mm-hmm. So to go from compulsion into intention is the path. And the way that one of the best ways that I know how to do this is move from our pattern, that habit loop, into our thinking brain. Because when we get into our thinking brain, right, when we lay down at night and we're like, oh gosh, tomorrow I'm going to be better. Right? Tomorrow I'm going to do it. Tomorrow. That's our thinking brain. Our thinking brain wants to evolve. It wants to grow. It wants to progress. And so when we're in our thinking brain, we have more access to choice. We're mm-hmm. not just running on compulsion. To get there, we have to use our cognitive thought. So one of the best ways I know how to do that is I have my clients ask themselves before they eat anything, am I hungry? Simple question.
I love it. Yeah.
Am I hungry? Like I'm reaching for the chips right now. I'm walking into the pantry. Am I hungry? And there's no judgment here. That's the really critical piece, because yes. Once we go into judgment, guess what happens? We go into that habit loop and our body is like, crave more, crave more, crave more, because you want to feel yes. better.
Yes.
So when you can ask yourself, am I hungry? It automatically puts you into thinking brain. And then you can respond either yes or no. The answer may be, yeah, physically I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And then you can ask, what am I hungry for? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that, again, you're creating intention with what you're eating, and you're recognizing that there's a difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger.
Yes.
Okay, so, yep, physically I'm hungry. What am I hungry for? And then you're intentionally making a choice from there. Now, you can also use it from the emotional standpoint. What if the answer is no? Like, am I hungry? No, but I really want chocolate.
Right.
You know, you can still ask yourself the second follow-up question. What am I hungry for? Mm-hmm. Okay. Am I physically hungry? No, but I'm emotionally hungry. That allows you choice because you've just taken it out of that compulsion and you've created intention by bringing it into your thinking brain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what am I hungry for?
Right. I'm bored, or
I'm
I'm
bored.
sad, or whatever it is.
Exactly. I
Yes.
need a hug. Do I need a cookie or do I need a hug? You know, so that is just a really, and of course, there's a lot of different tools that I teach my clients, but that one, I call it the power question because
Yes,
that
because
really is powerful.
I was about to say it really feels like it's bringing the power back to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When we feel emotional eating has to do a lot with like being out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm at the mercy of this, thoughts, and I'm just going to be like a little animal and just act on it. I mean, that's really the truth.
And it feels like that, I'm at the mercy of chocolate.
Yes, exactly. But I love these questions because it brings it back to us. And of course, there's so many layers to who we are. So it's not just about the eating, it's about the relationship between our emotional being and our physical being and our mental being and all of it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is that's my favorite topic in the course that I teach on body confidence. That is exactly what we discuss because we are a multifaceted being. And so we have to look at how we're communicating with our body. What does, just think about that question in and of itself. Asking yourself and pausing, am I hungry? And giving yourself permission to look at that. What does that communicate to you about your worth and how you honor yourself and your thinking and your feelings?
Yes.
Totally different.
Absolutely. And I think that is the root of making a long lasting change. It's all about learning to love ourselves through our actions and our thoughts and how we operate in life. We often don't think about asking our bodies because we think that our bodies cannot talk, but they talk all the time.
All the
right?
time.
When we have
All the
allergies or
time.
eczema or a disease or a headache, the body's talking. And so,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it's such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I wish we had even more time, but
we'll have to do a follow-up episode on
yes, we
emotional
need to.
eating.
Yeah, maybe we can give ourselves some homework, the teacher in me wants homework, and then we can see how we did. So
Yeah.
at least that's what I'm taking from this episode is I'm going to ask myself, continue, because I've been doing this for the past few years. I've been more and more intentional and having a more a healthier relationship with eating and food in general. And it's been an interesting journey. So I'll be curious to incorporate this tool of, how do you feel now? And are you really hungry? What are you hungry for? I love those questions. So
yeah.
I love that. Well, I encourage everybody to reach out to Misty because she does these amazing free sessions, discovery sessions, right? To get to know you. And you can get a lot of good golden nuggets there just in that introductory session. So how do they reach you, Misty?
Best way to reach me is just to actually instant message me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Misty Springer Wellness. Follow me there, send me a personal message. Let's chat. If you have, believe me, there are so many women just like you that are struggling with emotional eating. It's a real part of what we are experiencing. It's something that I love to work with. It's one of my most favorite
and you
topics.
Understand it. You understand it
very well.
And that's what I think when we reach out to someone, it feels good to know that they get it from the inside, not just from their head. So I really encourage everybody to reach out. And I know that a lot of the times as women, we don't want to ask for help, but if you take that little first step, you'll see how life can completely change by holding the hand of another woman. And so I think that that's so special. So anyway, well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. Again, we did it again, Misty.
Yeah, I know. Another great one. So fun to be here with you.
Me too. And until then, take care. Okay.
Thank you. You too.